Niobrara has released new firmware for its popular MEBI-2 Modbus Plus to Ethernet bridge. This video describes the procedure for upgrading an MEBI-2 to the latest version and also briefly covers the new built-in web server. The best method to get new firmware is to go to niobrara.com. Click on the Products link and then select MEBI-2. Then click on the Software link and select Run. Confirm the Run option if your browser complains. After installing the latest MEBI setup, go to Start, Programs, Niobrara, MEBI, and start MEBI SW32. We will connect to the target MEBI-2 with the MEBI SW program to back up the current setup. Arrow over to Set up Serial Communications. With the connection set for Modbus TCP, enter the target IP address and the host field. Make sure that the index is set for 255. We'll do a quick online edit port parameters to look things over. We see that the Modbus Plus port is set to drop 20. If we look at the online edit Modbus routing for the Ethernet port, we see that most of the routes go out the Modbus Plus port. Index 15 goes through a bridge plus at node 23 before hitting target 15. Now we'll back up the module by selecting Offline Fetch Memory from Module. We will save a copy of this setup by doing an offline write from memory to disk. In this case, we will enter a short name of upgrade. This file already exists, so we will overwrite it by pressing Y for yes. Now we'll start another application to actually load the new firmware. Start, Programs, Niobrara, MEBI, and then RPC load MEBI-2 firmware. The load file should be MEBII.qrc. Select the Modbus TCP tab and enter the IP address of the target MEBI-2. In our case, it's 192.168.1.14. Make sure that the TCP port is 502 and the Modbus drop is 255. Press Start Download. We will see the MEBI-2 reboot and come up as a DUCM. RPC load warns us that we are loading MEBI-2-X instead of MEBI-2. This is okay since the new version with the web server is now called MEBI-2-X. Downloading and flashing the memory will take a few minutes. The new firmware features a built-in web server for configuration and troubleshooting. Other new features include an Ethernet I/O scanner for data concentration applications, expanded Modbus routing tables for the serial ports, and a unique Hot Modbus Plus mode that allows a pair of MEBI-2s to work together to provide a fully redundant automatic switchover from standby to primary should the primary fail. When flashing is complete, the new firmware will start. Now we will reconnect with the MEBII software. Notice that the online edit port parameters seems to be fine. But the Modbus routing table is not correct. The route should be 20,1 and 20,2 instead of 1,1 and 1,2. We will load the saved setup file by selecting Offline, Read from Disk to Memory, and select the file Upgrade. Let's take a quick look at the offline Modbus table for the Ethernet port, and we see the proper routes. Now we'll do an offline send memory to module to restore the old configuration. After the send is finished, we'll then do a utility write setup to double EEPROM to make sure that the setup is saved. We are now finished with the MEBII program. The new firmware features a JavaScript-driven web server. Simply enter the IP address of the MEBII into a web browser. A login page will appear. There are two usernames possible, user and admin. Let's try user. The password is also user and is not case sensitive. User mode is a read-only viewer to allow someone to inspect but not alter the MEBII's configuration. The green bar on the left is a menu tree. The configuration link has branches for Ethernet, Port 1, Port 2, and Modbus Plus. We can see that the Modbus routing is now as we expect. We also see that Port 1 now has 255 entries in its Modbus routing table. The module will never allow user to make any changes. Many statistics pages are included and show automatically updating values. Error counters that are non-zero will have a red background. The stats can be reset to 0 by the user. The Modbus Plus Nodes page shows the list of active Modbus Plus devices. The MEBII 2 is at drop 20, a Bridge Plus at drop 23, and a PLC at drop 32. The Tools section includes a handy configuration overview that shows the entire configuration on a single page. This is handy for generating a printed record for system documentation. At the very end of the report, you'll see the text, "This is the end of the configuration listing." This ensures that you've downloaded the entire file. A handy register viewer is also included. The current release only allows access to the MEBII's registers by selecting drop 255. 4x or 6x registers may be viewed. You can set the 6x file number, starting register, count, and poll rate. Here we'll look at registers 1 through 10, and then add another block starting at register 2049. The values are shown in hex and unsigned, and there's a column for a user displayed setting. To close a view, click on the X. Now let's log out as user and log back in as admin. The password is master. Now we can actually change things. Notice that after values have been changed, a new red link shows up to save to EEPROM. This lets you know that the device setup will not survive a power cycle. The admin tree contains a number of features not allowed by the user login. You can change the passwords here. We can also do backup and restore from here. To do a backup, right-click on the link and select Save Target As. The generated setup file is a text file. To restore a setup, simply browse to the file and press Start Download. The firmware may also be updated through the web interface now. Simply select the file MEBII.qrc and press Start Download. Please visit Niobrara.com for more information.